Siomra beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture.
Sure look, sure listen. Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen. Very good, Benjamin, and very exciting. Look, we have a lot of things to cover today, and there's a super secret, special, exciting thing happening. So we better get on with it. But sure, look, we've to look at the Marvels. How many Marvels are there? 3. Also, we've seen the trailer for Talk to Me, What If a Ouija Board Was a Hand? And we've seen John Wick in the 70s, The Continental, and the TV series Gotham 2, The Penguin's Return, I think is what that is. And we've also seen, scroll down, Ben, I can't see the list. It's every podcast is someone's first podcast. That's our motto. Scroll down there, go on. Oh, it's gone. We've also seen Dracula's Revenge, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and we've managed to squeeze in the Lord of the Rings new video game starring Gollum, The Lord of the Rings, Gollum.
Sure, listen, Michael, if that wasn't enough, and it really isn't for a weekly pop culture podcast, your obsession with retro gaming has reached its peak. So we have a special guest this week, Michael.
Get all the way on up out of here, please.
I know. We have Naoise O'Hare from the Press Any Button to Continue podcast on with us, who's a retro gaming expert and blows you out of the water, Michael, when it comes to this kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't know we were going to get personal straight away. That feels like it's a bit much. Benjamin, regular listeners to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture, will remember that Naoise was one of the very first guests we had in on Siomra beag.
He was. He barely fit. It's a tiny room.
It's a very small room and there were 3 of us. So it's a real pleasure for us to welcome him back. Welcome back, Naoise.
Thank you very much for having me back. It's an absolute pleasure.
Naoise, since we last spoke, you have launched your own podcast on the topic of retro games called Press Any Button to Continue. Would you like to tell us just a tiny little bit about that before we get started?
Well, I do a podcast every bi-weekly, I think it is called, every 2 weeks with another Irish streamer by the name of Keith, who streams on Twitch as Steamy Streamers, and we talk about retro video games, nostalgia, and everything in between. I suppose it gets a bit wild. We go off topic, extremely off topic for a good 40 minutes at a point. And but we come back around. We go full circle, and yeah, so it's retro video games, nostalgia, all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
Including but not limited to the top 10 sexiest retro video game characters.
Oh, you better believe it.
Look, I do believe it. I believed it a bit too hard, to be honest.
A bit too hard.
I had to turn it off. It was it was bringing me out in a hot flush.
Who's your number 1? Or who's your number 1, 2, 3? Off the top of your head.
I'll do a number. Okay, right. Look, this isn't where I was expecting this to go straight off the bat, but I've brought this on myself, so I'll follow through. My favourite sexy video game character from the 90s, and I won't have any back talk from anyone on this, was Princess What's Her Name from Earthworm Jim.
Oh, yeah? That's an
Not the one with the big sluggy butt. That was, I believe, Queen Slug for a butt. Okay. But look, we're spending our load here, Benjamin.
Yeah, look, we're wasting time, Michael. We're wasting time with your strange fantasies. Okay?
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal fantasies. I was 11.
Yeah, get out of here. No way. No way. You and Queen Slug for a butt can go right away. Get out of here.
I feel you've purposely misinterpreted what I've said there, Benjamin. Speaking of purposely misinterpreting what someone has said, would you scroll back up to the top there? I can't remember what's first on the running order.
You're the worst. You know you have access to the Notion as well, Michael.
I know, but it's a conceit we do every week where you have the list up and it's too slow and I can't. The Marvels! People are loving the Marvels, Ben. How many Ms. Marvels are there going to be?
There's going to be 3 of them, Michael. It's right there in the thumbnail. You can see them very clearly.
1, 2, 3. I can see them all. There's Monica, Carol and Kamala.
Yeah, Monica, Carol and Kamala.
This was supposed to come out in 2022.
It was, Michael. It's been very much delayed.
Usually a good sign in films when something is supposed to come out in 2022 and then comes out at the end of 2023.
Yeah, it's the classic Hollywood logic of, this is going to be very good, let's make people wait.
That's not what they do. They're usually rewriting it. One of the biggest criticisms I've seen of this, both Ben and Nisha, and I don't know if you've seen it, is that the ostensible star of the Miss Marvel series, or the Captain Marvel series, Brie Larson, Carol Danvers, is barely in this trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a lot of her, to be honest.
She seems to have been reduced to a cameo in the sequel to her own movie.
Is she not one of the main characters? Like, I watched the trailer and I thought it was great. There was fantastic music in the trailer, the Beastie Boys. But
very good.
I actually, now that you say it, she only kind of popped in towards the end of the trailer.
She only kind of pops in and out and makes a confused face and then pops back out again. I don't think she says a full sentence in the trailer.
Really?
I don't think she actually says anything. She nearly says, what the and then disappears again. But that's not even from this movie. That's from the end of the Miss Marvel TV show.
It is.
Yeah. Very interesting. Benjamin, you'll tell us if there's been some sort of backlash.
Michael, I haven't actually dipped my toe in the cesspool that is the internet for this one.
Oh, what
I just
restraint.
knew it wasn't going to go. There are times in life where you know the internet's not going to take something well.
Right.
I really felt that the Miss Marvel trailer, given the
Marvels. It's not Miss Marvel. The Marvels.
Sorry, the Marvels trailer, given the vitriol that Captain Marvel got the first time, probably wasn't going to be well received.
Was it, though?
No, it wasn't, Michael. There are many... I lied, I dipped my toe a little bit. But there are many criticisms here, Michael. Primarily, though, fun, less misogyny than usual. Yeah. This is more just, it doesn't look like a very good movie.
Oh, so your lads aren't really out in force.
No, the misogynist that I am a noted member of, Michael.
Leader, I believe.
That's me. Leader. Card-carrying misogynist. I don't know if you knew that, Nisha.
No, but, I didn't.
Yeah, it's going to taint your brand now. I'm very sorry.
We've done enough tainting of our own brand. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. Did you not hear that whole conversation, Ben, about the top 10 sexiest characters?
Hold on. We said top 10 video game crushes to keep it like nice. You know
PG.
what I mean? You know
keep it nice
and
PG.
Well, it wasn't PG. It was far from it, but it was just sounds a bit nicer.
Very good. Ben, speaking of Marvel, though, did you notice that they've changed the famous Marvel sword to saber?
Have they changed it to saber, Michael? What did they do that for?
I don't know. Maybe because shield and sword is a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah,
so they made the space station the Saber space station.
Saber doesn't roll off the top. I quite liked Sword and Shield. I thought that made a lot of sense.
It's a little bit on the nose, though, isn't it? It's a little bit precise.
It's a little, it is. It's a little bit too, obvious.
Yeah. Look, we'll see it as we are contractually obliged to do.
The cat's back, though.
The cat is back. I thought he was dead. What's the lifespan on those fellas?
The wee monster cat's back. And we see it in the trailer this time. They're just like, look, the Cthulhu cat is back.
He's back and he's going to eat literally anybody. And there's a whole gang of kittens.
Yeah, that's very worrying. I don't like the idea of a universe filled with those things running around.
Very scary. Almost as scary as the concept of a Ouija board that's a hand.
Yes, Michael. So what we got this week was the trailer for Talk to Me, and Talk to Me is a bit of a sensation here, Michael. This is an indie darling.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, set in Australia.
Oh, is that why there was an evil blood kangaroo?
Yeah, there's an evil blood kangaroo, Michael, because it's in Australia.
Oh, it's in Australia. Look at this, a flaming evil blood kangaroo, mate.
We're just going to leave the accents to me, Michael.
That was you. That was Ben, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to trick you. He's trying to trick you because there's 3 voices this week.
So, Michael and Nisha, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the A24 model of business. Do you know how it works?
No.
Oh, well, why don't you enlighten us there, mate?
Oh, God. Well, what happens is A24 actually spends its time trawling the various film festivals and kind of launches of films and things like that. And basically what they do is, once a film is made, they choose to back it as a distribution model.
Oh, I thought that was Shudder.
Shudder does that as well.
Oh, very good. Okay.
It is arguably more successful for A24 than it is even for Shudder. Shudder does very well with that model. But this is why they have so many hits, Michael, is because they only see the films when they're finished and go, that's very good, isn't it? We're gonna back that. We'll make money on that.
That's actually a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it works really well.
Marvel should have done that.
Marvel should have done anything except what they're doing at the minute, Michael.
Yeah, take that, Marvel. You took them down a peg, Ben.
I know, multi-billion-dollar company Marvel is quaking in their boots. But what we get in this one, Michael, is, and you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, it's a Ouija board that's a hand.
It's a Ouija board that's a hand. I saw it and I said, why didn't they just call this Ouija board hand?
Because it's been played out, Michael. It's been done.
Yeah.
It's been done. Yeah. We've dealt with that. So there's quite a touching story at the heart of this. The main character of the trailer, Michael, has lost their mother.
Oh yeah,
yeah, which is very sad. And the driving force behind this film is that kids in Australia have found a hand that allows them to contact the other side.
Yeah, it's a Ouija board.
Yeah. Now, Michael, you and I both know from extensive experience using our own Ouija board hand that we shouldn't be talking to the other side. It's not a good idea.
Did you know that because Naoise is so focused on retro gaming, he actually for many years thought it was called a Luigi board?
Oh, really?
Wait, yeah, and all of the ghosts would answer. No, you were telling me this earlier, Naoise. You were saying all the ghosts would answer back in cod Italian accents. They go, "It's a me, a ghost."
Jesus.
This is a Luigi board. I've been storing that up all day, that joke.
That's actually like, I'm surprised nobody has made a Luigi board.
That would be great.
It's definitely out there somewhere.
That would be great. Ben, market it. Quickly, get it out there before Nintendo sue us.
Make a GIF. So what this is, Michael, is a bit of a success story for the people that made the film. There's a lovely kind of behind the scenes reel of them all finding out that A24 has bought it, and they're all very excited and very happy because like this is the dream of like a tiny independent film is to be picked up by A24 and distributed worldwide.
Can I give you a weird take on this trailer?
Go on.
I have very rarely been as excited about a horror film for a kind of a weird reason.
Go on.
And the weird reason is this is so boilerplate looking. This is just modern Australians doing a Ouija board, but it's a hand.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's so bare bones and standard horror, but yet it's being promoted so heavily, it must be pretty good.
I think, Michael, we're probably in for quite a treat because what we're looking at is kind of a classic demon possession, or other side trying to get through and possess people kind of gig, but it looks like it's pulling out all the stops on the classic ones. Like there's at one point she's got the big black eyes.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
She's got a creepy little voice that says, "Oh, they like you." That's you know.
Yeah. There's a kangaroo. There's a ghost kangaroo, like in every horror film.
Michael, nothing classically, Michael, established in The Exorcist from 1972. Notably, that is the point where most people had their heart attacks, was when the little baby demon kangaroo came on and said, "Watch it," and then everybody went, "Oh, my heart! Oh, Jesus!"
I have in my notes for this ad, literally the one point I have for this ad for this trailer is there was a kangaroo in it.
There was definitely a kangaroo.
Very important.
My notes say haunted boomerang.
Oh yeah.
Possessed didgeridoo. You never know what's going to come out of this.
But do you know what's interesting? Do you know what's interesting about the movie itself being bought by a distribution company? It's the same as an independent music artist recording an album at home and sending out demos, say, to a record company and getting signed by a record label. It's the exact, well, it seems to me like it's the same kind of contrast. Now, obviously, making a movie, there's an awful lot more time and effort and people you'd imagine that go into it than recording an album, but similar kind of thing in my head anyway.
Seems to be horror is the genre that your best chance of getting away with that is.
Oh really? Yeah.
It seems to be like horror gets bought and distributed, and you could throw together a horror on a smallish, like we're talking 2 or 3 million, which is not small money to any normal person, but a smallish budget, and there's a decent chance you've a much better chance of getting a €3 million horror film picked up than a €3 million John Wick film or a €3 million superhero film, or there's something about horror that if you just get it right, it can be done fairly cheap.
Yeah.
And still make it into cinemas and scare the bejesus out of people.
Good point.
Scare the little corks off of people's hats.
Yeah, very important. I'm glad that we've expanded our racism from regular racism to now just hitting niche, strange little things like cork hats on Australians. Got him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Speaking of niche, strange little things, weren't you saying the other day, Benjamin, that all you wanted to know about the John Wick universe was what was going on in that hotel in the 70s?
That's all I've ever wanted to know, Michael. That's what I think of any building I pass. Any building I go past, I go, I wonder what was happening in that building in the 70s.
Yeah.
That's all I think. Oris and Uachtaran. I just want to know what was happening in the 70s.
In the 70s in Oris and Uachtaran, probably everyone was smoking.
Bloody Westin Hotel. What was going on in that building?
I'd say everyone was probably smoking in there as well. Everyone was smoking indoors in the 70s. You don't see that in films as much anymore, but everyone was smoking inside in the 70s, Ben.
Yeah, that was pretty much the answer, Michael. Smoking. And that was when I kind of lost my love of wondering what buildings were doing in the 70s.
Speaking of Naoise, great soundtracks. This is a classic. This is a banger of a soundtrack on this trailer.
The Continental.
Yeah.
Hold on. I have it in my notes. For the Continental, the music was great, as well as the Marvels.
There you go.
That's exactly what it says. It was I Feel Loved by Donna Summer, wasn't it?
Oh, nice.
It was, and the classic Giorgio Moroder song, Ben, you're one of your favourites.
You can't beat a bit of Donna Summer, Michael. When I hear Donna Summer in a trailer, I'm in.
Are you?
Yeah, sold.
What are you in about with people wearing kind of bottom half of their faces with a mask, but they've got lipstick?
I enjoy that kind of thing, Michael. If anything, the other thing that I think when I pass buildings is I hope people were wearing strange masks with lipstick on the bottom of their faces in the 70s in that building.
You've actually said that to me.
I have several times. I asked you about your house.
You did. If you recall. Yeah, because my house was a weird brothel in the 70s, but that is not what we're talking about.
Wait, hold on. You can't just brush past that now, Mick. Hold the phone. Was it?
Look, there's rumours.
Oh,
It's unprovable.
Where did the rumours come from, though? Hold on. What are you messing?
Keep probing. Yeah. We'll get to the truth eventually. Who owned it? What was I saying? This goes back to what we were saying, Ben, a few weeks ago when we talked about the first John Wick movie and how the first John Wick movie seemed to be set, relatively speaking, in the real world.
Yes.
And then the later movies got madder and madder and madder.
Yeah, everyone's assassins, Michael.
Literally everyone is assassins.
Yeah.
But this now seems to be retconning that to everyone has always been assassins since at least the 70s.
If not that, Michael, then everybody has a gun and some kind of death wish.
And some sort of special skills.
Yes, everybody's got a special skill, Michael.
And a unique costume.
Michael, it must be exhausting in that world. You must once you enter the assassin world, you must just spend your life going, are you a fucking assassin?
Yeah.
I bet you are. You'd never relax. Never again.
Who's doing podcasts, for example? Are people like, do you want to record the podcast on Sunday? It's like, I have a bit of assassinating to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
After I'm done assassinating, we'll do the podcast. I'm like, grand, yeah, if you don't get killed.
What did you do at the weekend? I can't speak about it. Can't talk about it, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You look a little bit bloodied. I was like, I went after Baba Yaga, and I knew I shouldn't have, but it was 24 million. I'm grand. I got hit by a car 3 times, well, I'm grand.
The inflation in that universe's economy must be fucking outrageous because everyone's going after the $1 million contract. So everybody's just walking around with a lot of gold Krugerrands in their pockets, Michael. It's just untenable. Just untenable. This is a prequel series to the Continental, obviously from the title. But again, it begs the question. I don't know if the Continental was the biggest question people had.
Go on.
It seems to be, and I'm putting my money on this, Michael. And given the spanking, Naoise, this week the internet has come at me because a month ago,
the internet hates you, Ben.
The internet hates me this
Elaborate.
week. A month ago, I made a trailer prediction for the TV series on Netflix, Beef.
Oh yeah,
with Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong. And I swear to God, no one on the internet has ever heard of a trailer reaction. Because this week, everybody has come to me and said in the comments of the short for that, they're like, you were wrong. you fucked that up. You were wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but this was a month ago. And all I've gotten is people saying, you didn't watch the series. And I was like, no, because it wasn't out a month ago when I made the trailer prediction. So I'm going to do it again now, Naoise.
Right.
I'm going to put my ass on the line. And I'm going to say, I think this is a little anthology series about the Continental.
Oh.
I think this is going to be vignettes.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be like a kind of Twilight Zone, but about assassins.
Yeah, a little bit like that. I think we got a glimpse. Did we get a DH Donnie Yen? Was he in there?
Oh, I didn't notice. Did you
I think
notice?
there was
I didn't.
I think there's a little DH Donnie Yen in there. So I think we're probably just going to get a few little tales from the Continental, if you will, Michael.
Okay.
I don't know if we're necessarily going to get the arc of. I'd say we're going to learn how Winston got the hotel. I'd say we're going to get. I think we might get to learn where the rule of no business in the Continental came from. Because it looks like there's a bit of chaos in the Continental, and then I'm not sure what else we're going to see. But those are my bets, Michael. And if the internet is listening to this, come at me.
Yeah,
come at me.
If the internet is listening to this in about 6 months' time, and you've already seen the show, and Ben was completely wrong, just lay into him. Lay into him.
Yeah.
It's a real weakness. It's a real weak spot for him. You can really chip away at his ego, just bit by bit. So please feel free. Just absolutely lay into him.
And Tales from the Continental, I think, is a far better name than the Continental from the world of
That's
John
very
Wick.
kind of you, Naoise.
Tales from the Continental it's a pretty good name.
The Continental just sounds like a hotel, doesn't it?
Like, there's nothing about the name The Continental that would drag me in. And I've seen the first 3 John Wick movies and love them. But the name, Tales from the Continental, that just has a little bit of a lasso on it that just gets you. You know what I mean?
A little bit of intrigue.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm probably going to snip that into a short this week, Naoise, and tag you in it. And be like, look, I am good at my job. And then I'm going to, again, taunt the internet into coming for me. It's going to be a whole thing.
Do it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people who are taunting people into coming for them, the Penguin is back, and I've already seen this story in Gotham, but it's back, and now it's Colin Farrell.
Yeah, Michael, this is the greatest. So Warner Brothers had a massive conference at the weekend, and they made a series of announcements at this conference. Right?
Go on.
The primary 2 that have kind of come out of it, Michael, are they're rebranding HBO Max to Just Max.
Just Max, that's what it's called.
So it's Max without any HBO as opposed to Just Max.
Okay, Just Max, great.
The other major announcement that they made, Michael, is that they're going to be making 7 seasons of a Harry Potter reboot of television.
Yeah. We forgot to talk about that.
Yeah, 7 seasons of a Harry Potter reboot, with each season being one of the books.
That sounds, I think, like a great idea.
Yes, Mike. Now, this is going to get us in trouble with the internet. I don't know how it sounds, Michael. I don't particularly care. I'm not particularly invested in the Harry Potter cinematic universe.
Naoise got a bit of a shudder there when you said that.
Go on.
And I love the Harry Potter movies. I've never read the books, but the movies themselves, I feel, are great. Like Christmas time movies, they're nice. Just really, it's a comfort film for me, the Harry Potter movies, and I like the way the characters have aged throughout it. And again, I have no comparison to the books, so I'm not hypercritical of the movies themselves. I just take them for what they are, as a story of witches and wizards and all kind of mad stuff. So, but I think they're fantastic films.
Well, the good news, Naoise, is you might be getting 7 seasons of witches and wizards and madness.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I hope they set it in modern days and every second episode is about social media bullying by witches.
That's what I've always wanted, Michael. That's what I felt has always been lacking, is a very strong SJW message underneath. In fairness, I'm making this joke, but J.K. Rowling is almost certainly not an SJW. She is the exact opposite of that in one form or another.
I don't know if she's the exact opposite, Ben. That would be one of your lads. But look, we're supposed to be talking about the Penguin here. Why are we talking about J.K. Rowling?
One of the other announcements that they made, Michael, and obviously I have never seen an in-production trailer for a series.
Oh, they're always doing it. They don't usually call it that.
Yeah, but I've never seen a making of... We're making this thing. Here's kind of a half trailer, a half look at the cameras and the smoky atmosphere behind it. Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting Colin Farrell's Penguin again, Michael.
He doesn't seem like he's going to be called the Penguin.
No, he doesn't like it, you see. He's not a fan of the name, Michael, if you recall from the film.
Go on.
He gets a bit annoyed when people call him the Penguin because he's suffering from several deformities, Michael, and some injuries by the looks of it, and he can't really help the way he looks, Michael.
All right, calm down, Ben.
Yeah, so he gets a bit offended. I get a bit offended on his behalf, right? You leave
very
Colin
good.
Farrell alone.
Leave Colin Farrell alone. He can't do anything about his looks.
Leave noted handsome man Colin Farrell alone. He can't
Poor
do anything
old
about
Colin
his looks.
Farrell. Poor old Colin Farrell, saddled with his looks and his deformities. Anyway, look, they've already done this. It was called Gotham. I don't see why we're getting another fleckin'... Ben!
Yeah.
I've decided to curtail that rant because I've just remembered that the show Pennyworth exists.
The show Pennyworth exists for no reason.
It does for no reason. And it's a prequel to Batman's Butler and also a prequel to V for Vendetta. And I just have to bring that up anytime we talk about this.
Are Batman and V for Vendetta in the same universe?
They are in the Pennyworth prequel series.
No, this is about Alfred, isn't
They
it?
pretty much are.
It's about Alfred's dad.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's called Pennyworth, and this is not a joke. It's called Pennyworth, the origin story of Batman's Butler. And it's a prequel. This is a real series that's been going for like
all
5
real.
years.
There's not a word of a
Is that
lie.
the actual title, though?
That's what it's called. I have never met someone who's seen a single episode of it, but it's definitely real. And that's what it's called. And it's a prequel series to both Batman and V for Vendetta.
No way.
It's mental.
How did they tie
mad.
in V for Vendetta, though?
Nisha, I have not a clue. I haven't seen a single episode of it.
Nobody has, Nisha.
Nobody
has.
I think it's one of those Mandela effects, but it's just, this is a show that exists from a different universe that somehow crept over into our universe.
It's mad.
Bizarre.
Anyway,
Yeah, I care much more about that than I do about the Penguin.
I'm almost certain, Michael, that one of the notes that Colin Farrell was given for this was, tone the accent down there, Colin. Will you just ease off on the heavy Brooklyn accent for me? Because it's definitely a toned down version of the one we got in Matt Reeves' Batman.
He had a proper Irish twang that in the advert. I noticed that as well with his accent.
Yeah.
It was definitely,
Yeah, he really
you could
did.
pick up on the Irish undertones of his accent. So I totally agree with you that there is something to do with his accent that's changed.
Yeah, I think it's after he did bloody Banshees of Inisherin and he just couldn't shake it.
Couldn't shift it.
Probably
Paddy
that's
Wackery
it.
Irish.
Like how famously Michael Fassbender got stuck in Irish for that scene in X-Men First Class on the beach.
Oh yeah, take him to the water.
My fellow mutants, take them into the water. Oh, fucking hell, Michael.
How did that get left in there, I wonder?
I think
It's so Irish. Water.
We had this conversation the other day, Nisha, off air. We forgot to actually record it. But we were talking about Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and how Keanu Reeves famously got lashed out of it for his horrible accent.
All right.
Because Keanu Reeves is a Californian and he was doing a Victorian London accent and it was a disaster. But I watched the whole film and it didn't bother me because I am neither American nor British. So the being a bad British accent didn't bother me. And hearing the American poking through didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I cannot watch Far and Away, where Tom Cruise does a bad Irish accent.
Oh.
I have to turn it off straight away. So I think that it was probably just that there was nobody else Irish on set that day who had said, Mickey, your Irishness is showing there a little bit. So no one, I think no one heard it because he's not doing a specific American accent in those movies. So there wasn't like a Bostonian who could say, your Bostonian's a bit off there. You sound a little Australian. Anyway, look, never mind. We're off topic. Anyway, speaking of the water, that's one of the worst segues I've ever done.
That's one of the worst segues you have ever done.
There's a new film coming out. It's called Oh No, Dracula's on the Boat.
It's called The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
The first one's a way better name.
Yeah. I think it might be called "Oh No, Dracula's on the Boat."
Yeah. So, Michael, what we've got again, it's the story nobody asked for, Michael. Where it's like, you know Dracula, yeah. You know the way he was terrible in Romania, yeah. You know the way he was really, really shocking in London, and we got a lot of details on that, yeah. Did you ever wonder how he got to London and what happened on that boat? Oh yeah, what did happen going on that boat?
Isn't this the story of the film Michael Morbius?
Yeah, it's just Morbin time again, Michael.
But Victorian Morbin time.
Victorian Morbin time. Vic Morbin time.
One of your favourite actors, David Tasmalchian, is in it.
He is. He's popped up in this for some reason, Michael, as some kind of deckhand.
Yeah, and your favourite actor of all time, Liam Cunningham.
I love Liam Cunningham. I feel like he might be stingy on a round of pints, but I think he's all right. I like Liam Cunningham.
Why do you think Liam Cunningham would be stingy on a round of pints?
I think he'd be so charming, Michael, you'd forget, and then he'd leave, and you go, that fucker didn't buy a round. I got him like 6. I got him like 6 pints. The Liam Cunningham stands are going to come for me now. He's like, Liam would absolutely buy a round. Liam would absolutely buy a round. But Michael, this is a very slick trailer.
It's very slick, isn't it? It's very exciting seeing Dracula on the boat. Now, my biggest problem with this is it seems like we already know how this is going to end.
Everybody's going to die, Michael.
Everyone's going to die and he's going to get to London. Like this, the ending to this is the most obvious ending since the film Titanic.
Yeah.
It's the most obvious ending for a boat film since the film Titanic.
Yes, it has to go down, Michael.
It has to go down, and in this, Dracula has to kill them all and get to London.
That's how it works, Michael. Famously, in the novel, the boat arrives with everybody missing. That's what happens. It kind of glides into port, and then there's about 2 people left alive, I think, on the boat, and they never figure out what's happening on the boat. They just report strange things happening at night and yada, yada, yada. And this has given us a very stark kind of horror look at this. Michael, one of the things I absolutely loved, and I'm not going to mimic it because it'll cause havoc with the mic, but the way they sync up the knock on the boat as all is well, you know, the kind of old maritime thing. What a way to bring a beat into your trailer and keep your cuts steady. I was so in love with the editing of this trailer. I was just like, this is fucking slick.
What I thought was a very brave move in this trailer was they, from the beginning of a trailer, put a dog in peril.
Michael, if something happens to that fucking dog, I will riot.
I think he gets killed in the trailer, Ben.
I'll never buy Liam Cunningham a pint again. I won't do it. I won't do it. He better not. It better be a get you in your seats jump scare, and like the little cabin boy comes along and distracts Dracula for a sec. It better be. If that dog fucking dies, I'll have a fit.
And then the little cabin boy gets killed, but that's grand.
That's fine. Do
grand.
away with as many cabin boys as you feel is necessary for your plot. But if you touch a hair on that dog's head, I will fucking riot.
Anyway, look, we haven't seen Renfield. We forgot to see Renfield.
We forgot to see Renfield.
We just forgot. We
What's
were busy.
Renfield?
We had a busy weekend. Exactly. See?
Renfield is the latest offering from Nicolas Cage where he plays a form of Dracula.
That anything Nicolas Cage, I'm on board. Pun intended.
Yeah.
We're talking about boats.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage on a boat being a Dracula, and Nicholas Hoult, who's quite famous and popular now. But it's bombing at the box office. It's absolutely getting annihilated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's absolutely getting shit mixed by the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, yeah.
Despite not really being aimed at the same audience.
Yeah, totally different.
You'll be happy to know, though, Nisha, the one highlight of all of it, of many of the reviews, is Nicolas Cage is actually great.
Oh, brilliant.
It's just the rest of the film that kind of falls apart around him.
Nicolas Cage is my favourite actor. Sorry.
As he should be,
He is,
Nisha. As he should be.
Even the terrible, Ghost Rider, I am notorious amongst my group of friends for hating, or for loving terrible movies. And Ghost Rider, Drive Angry. Have you ever seen Drive Angry?
Oh, Drive Angry, where he plays a weird form of Paradise Lost author John Milton.
Oh, so
what the
good.
fuck is that film?
It's so fucking good.
It's so good, but it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Michael, have you seen Drive Angry?
I have seen Drive Angry, but the weirdest thing that you put me onto, the two We went through a bit of a Nick Cage renaissance last year. We went to see Pig in the cinema. I think we were
great.
the only people in Ireland who saw Pig.
Yeah.
You made me watch Mandy, and I still wake up sweating sometimes from watching Mandy.
Mandy's fucking great.
And then we watched that weird Five Nights at Freddy knockoff that he did.
Yeah, that was weird. That's getting a sequel.
He doesn't say a single word in the entire film.
What? Wait, what's this? What's this movie? How? I haven't seen this one.
What was that called, Ben?
I can't remember what it's called.
It's basically it's Five Nights at Freddy's, the video game,
Right.
Where the people have to survive a night in an animatronic hell house.
Yeah.
But Nicolas Cage is in it as a weird kind of mute loner.
He's Bud.
He's like an unstoppable killing machine, and it kind of becomes a horror for the animatronics getting killed by Nicolas Cage.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's
someone
called Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland. That's what it's
I've
called.
never even heard of it. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna
He
I'm gonna
doesn't
write
speak,
that down.
Nisha.
He doesn't speak.
He doesn't speak.
I just
He
wanna
got
look at him.
paid to just be in the
I
film.
just want to look at Nicolas Cage.
You don't necessarily need to write it down, Nisha, because we actually do publish this online.
You can just listen back and give us the list.
Every
I'm
Tuesday.
gonna watch it tonight. There's no stopping here.
But yeah, I'm glad we had a little segue into why Nicolas Cage is the best actor.
Yeah, and no one has seen Renfield, sadly, including
No
us.
one's seen Renfield, sadly. I'll go and watch it, and then I'll just put my fingers in my ears when Nicolas Cage isn't on screen.
Yeah. Or just put your fingers in his ears when he's talking, and you can think it's a sequel to Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland, yeah.
Benjamin, was that the real Andy Serkis in the Gollum video game?
No, it's not him, Michael, which is first strike. Strike number one, Michael. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you'll know that we don't talk about video games very often. But I felt, because I was forced to watch this trailer during the week, because it pops up when I'm doing the weekly roundup of trailers to try and find things for us to talk about on this here podcast. And I said to myself, Nisha likes video games. So we'll talk about this bizarre game that's coming out.
Benjamin, Nisha hasn't played a video game that's newer than 25 years old. I don't think he'd know how. There'd be too many buttons.
Yeah, it's not the retro dream. It's not the simple days of retro gaming. But anyway.
I was kind of letting Nisha get a line in there, Ben. I wasn't expecting you to answer.
Sorry.
I watched this trailer, okay, and I noticed that it wasn't Andy Serkis. But
really? I thought it was him.
Did you? Well, sorry. When I was listening to it, it jumped out at me that he didn't sound like Gollum to me.
Okay.
But the game itself looks very cool. I have in my notes anything with the Lord of the Rings, and I'm in.
Okay,
I
cool.
liked. Now I don't know what your opinion was on the Rings of Power, and I know you don't want to sidetrack it too much, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good show. Again, I'm not hypercritical of TV or movies, but I thought it was a fun watch and a good addition to the Lord of the Rings series. But I believe it was...
You don't have to worry about being hypercritical, Nisha. We're hypercritical.
Grand,
You can be nice.
grand. But come on, can you tell me what you thought, though?
I watched every episode of it, and I think at the time I said I thought it was quite a good show,
Yeah,
but not great Lord of the Rings.
right.
So I can understand what Lord of the Rings fans didn't like about it, but it was one of the very few shows of last year. Oh, was it this year? No, it was last year. It was one of the very few shows of last year which I watched every episode of the day it came out.
Yeah, me too.
And say what you will about me and what that says about me, and maybe I'm not a true Tolkien fan, but I actually did enjoy it as a show. But yeah, in terms of the world building of the Lord of the Rings and all that sort of stuff, yeah, I can see what pissed people off about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the old little Irish fellas going, oh, we'd have to find some potatoes or else we're all going to die. You know, that always gets my goat a little bit. But yeah, I thought it wasn't bad. And I think about this game, though. This feels like a trailer for the concept of a Gollum game. Because I don't know what this game is going to be. What's the game?
Yeah, so it looks to be a sneak around game. I think it's probably going to be a stealth heavy.
Yeah, a sneak around game. That's the name of the genre, Ben.
Yeah, a sneak around game. That's what it's called, Michael.
Yeah,
a sneak around game. I think it's probably going to be a stealth based game where you have to be a sneaky little Gollum running around, getting out of scrapes involving the One Ring, and kind of just passing levels in a classic kind of, did you see me? No, you didn't, because I've upgraded my abilities to throw rocks over there, so the guards go that way. And then you can make little stealth kills with a little Gollum knife and stuff like that. I reckon that's what we're going to get.
A little rock or a little strangulation with his little wiry fingers.
With his little wiry fingers.
And what would be one of your favourite sneak around games, Ben, in the sneak around game genre?
The classic for me, Michael, is Batman Arkham Asylum. The stealth missions in that are an absolute gem. But I used to play a game that was very, very, very similar to this. I cannot remember the name of it. But you used to play a little goblin in a kind of fantasy medieval setting. And you would sneak around and assassinate people in this tower in a medieval game. And it was in a big, giant fortress. And it was a spin-off of another fantasy game. I cannot remember what the name of it is. I'll look it up and I'll try and figure out what it was. But it used to be a great little game, Michael.
That is going to ruin my night. You have ruined my night now.
Why'd I ruin your night?
I was kind of hoping that you were just going to say something absurd or funny, but you've just described a game which I personally don't believe exists.
It's called Styx, Master of Shadows.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's real.
What console was it on?
It was on, I think I played it on PS4.
Oh.
Here, I'll show it to you. I'll do a little share there, just so we're all clear that I'm not lying. Because that would be good. I would prefer Naoise not to think of me as a knave and a liar.
I think does this video game come from the same dimension as Pennyworth, the origin story of Batman's butler?
Yeah, it's another Mandela effect. There it is.
Okay.
Styx, Master of Shadows.
Look at that, it's real. Yeah. When did that come out?
This is years old. I think it was like...
Benjamin, you are really confusing my brain because you keep saying years old, but then you also said PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but that's years old. PlayStation 4 came out in like 2015?
As far as I'm concerned, PlayStation 4 is current.
Yeah, I think of that. I think of the PS4 as current as well.
Ah, I got you.
Okay, right. Well, you have
but
me.
I'm old.
But you used to play as this fella, Styx, and he was a little goblin assassin, and he'd run around, and he had all kinds of little tricks and potions, and the whole point of the game was stealth. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the upcoming Gollum game is just a reskinned version of Styx, Master of Shadows.
Oh, very good, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Speaking of what is the meaning of retro video gaming anyway.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a good time to do a segue to our very special guest?
Yes, Naoise O'Hare of the Press Any Button to Continue podcast. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Naoise, what to you is retro gaming? What's the definition of retro gaming? Because Ben has genuinely upset me with this, talking about a game from less than 10 years ago.
Right. So, I think the definition of it, right, is anything that has been discontinued from a console that has been discontinued. Right? So I think that's the definition. Now, to me, retro goes up to the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox original. That's kind of what I'd consider to be retro. And I know they're kind of newer, but I'm starting to question my very existence by being on the fence of, is the Nintendo Wii retro?
Oh.
Now,
look I know they're incredibly new consoles, but the more I think about it, like the Nintendo Wii, as Keith, the co-host of my podcast, says, it's basically the Wii is just a GameCube with a sensor bar on it, which I think is a very good point, because it literally is. It has Wii port controller ports, or GameCube port controller ports, and it's basically, that's what it is. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I am really starting to question if I'm even alive by thinking that the Wii is retro.
If you put a Wii in front of me, Naoise, I would say, what is this newfangled monstrosity?
He genuinely would. I think I did it once as a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't get it. The Wii is the white one, isn't it? The white one with the funny
the one
angle.
after the GameCube. But
you see, for me personally, retro is defined by my lived experience. And I think for a lot of people it is. And that's why this conversation will always cause arguments.
Yeah.
And retro is basically, what were the consoles that were popular when you had the most time to dedicate to gaming?
Yeah.
And for me, that means Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 and Saturn.
And that's it.
And anything post that, I'm not saying it's not retro, but it starts losing my interest.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In the same way that my older friends are like, nah, anything past Commodore 64 might as well be science fiction technology. And they've no interest in it.
What about the N64? Would you...
Yeah. N64 is kind of the borderline.
Yeah.
N64, Dreamcast.
GameCube.
Kind of the end for me. No,
tickle
never
you
even
at all?
seen one in real life.
Are you serious?
I've never seen a GameCube
What?
in real life.
Really?
Never seen one. Don't even know what they look
Picture
like.
a cube, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah,
You've got it.
right.
You've got it.
I've got.
That's
That's actually
Right.
quite descriptive. Then
done.
we put a poll up on Instagram this week, Benjamin.
We did.
Tell the listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry. that would be good, wouldn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, we're quite a big fan of the polls these days on a Monday. It's the Monday poll. And this week we put up 4 retro consoles and we asked you which one's the best? Which one's the best? We had the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. We had the SNES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. We had the Sega Megacast, and we had a PlayStation 1.
Jesus Christ. Was that on purpose? That was on purpose, wasn't it? Look at your face. Benjamin Colopy, you retract that this instant.
I will not.
I'm very upset. Look how red I am. Sega
Megacast.
It's a classic. It's a classic console. I used to play Styx Master of Shadows on them.
Oh, God. In 2014 on the Sega Megacast. This is the most upsetting podcast I've ever been involved in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was the Sega Mega Drive.
Thank you. And who won, Ben? I don't have the results.
PlayStation 1.
Oh, did it?
PlayStation 1 by a country mile, Michael.
Get out of here.
PlayStation 1 over the NES, the SNES, and the Sega Megacast.
No, I had a SNES.
Nisha,
SNES
no.
was actually...
Please don't let this catch on.
I'm sorry.
I can't.
It has its hooks are in.
I can't live with this.
I had the Sega Megacast, and I used to watch Pennyworth, Batman's Butler origin story. And that was an old series from the 1960s.
Oh, no.
It was great. It's set in the same world as V for Vendetta. And, it's just a really, really great watch, and you get that real old grain and static on the screen. Great.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had the SNES, and that was the first console I ever got. My grandparents went into... I think it was an early form of Rage games. Do you remember Rage here in Dublin?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Rage, yeah.
I think years and years ago they went in and they said, we'd like to buy a console for our grandsons. And the Rage lads were just like, well, we only do retro, like we only do old ones. And they were like, yeah, grand, give us whatever you have. And they bought the SNES and they bought like a whole bunch of cartridges to go with it. So I had like bizarre SNES ones like Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Cool.
And what was that one that we looked at, Michael? The fighting game?
Mortal Kombat.
Killer Instinct. No, it was Killer
Instinct.
And the
We
reason
got
I know
Mortal
this,
Kombat. We got Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3. And we got Killer Instinct as well. And then we got a bunch of Kirby games and a bunch of Mario games. Fucking great.
Yeah. Deadly.
The reason I know that it was Killer Instinct is because the last time you upset me by vaguely remembering a video game that you played as a child was about the one where you're a knight and you fight a man who's on fire, and I think there's a girl. And oh no, this is
It's remarkably accurate.
it was
All things
remarkably
considered.
accurate.
Is it Super
and it was
Ghouls
Killer.
and Ghosts he's talking about?
It was Killer Instinct. It was Killer Instinct. As vague as a description that is, it turned out to be Killer
It was
Instinct.
Killer Instinct. I used to play it on the Sega Megacast.
Oh, stop. It wasn't on the Sega Megacast.
We also asked for a few more suggestions, Michael. And of course, one that we forgot. We always ask, what did we forget? The Game Boy, Michael.
Of course.
An absolute classic. An absolute classic.
Brilliant. One of my favourites, the original Game Boy, is a beautiful thing. The Game Boy Color
It is.
even more beautiful.
Game Boy, I had the Game Boy Color.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had the Game Boy Color, and I got it in purple see-through, so I could
That's
see all the
one I
wiring
have.
and
That's
stuff.
the one I have and I play. It's my
there you
favourite.
go.
It's my favourite
There you
one.
go.
And what
An
games did you
absolute
play?
classic.
What games did you have?
I was an idiot, right? When I got the Game Boy Color, I went in with my dad with my communion money,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, Dad, this is what I want to buy with my communion money. And he's like, all right, we'll go in and we'll take a look and we'll see if we can get this.
Yeah.
And my dad's a bit of a no-nonsense man.
Right.
So he was just like, what is it you want? And I was like, I want to get a Game Boy Color and I want to get Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue.
Beautiful.
Right?
Oh, very good.
And I wanted both of them. Now, there's no difference in those fucking games except for one Pokemon.
A little bit.
And a cheat code or two. And I went in and I came back with my 2 fucking Pokemon games, the exact same game, basically, with a few minor differences. And I played it for fucking ages. And then I had loads of other ones. I had like... I'm not going to remember any of them now, Naoise. I won't lie to you.
Right,
I just won't remember them.
Pokemon Red and Blue is good enough. They're 2 of the best. I know they're kind of the same game, but in my opinion, the best, possibly the best Game Boy games of all time would be in my opinion. Or maybe not the best. Maybe that's too harsh to say. My favourite, anyway, 100%.
Yeah. That's good.
There would be very few contenders to knock them off. Maybe Zelda.
Yeah.
Maybe Wario.
Link's Awakening on the Game Boy Color, or Game Boy and Game Boy Color. I don't know if you've played either of them or Link's Awakening, but absolutely just incredible game. Absolutely incredible game. The music, the layout, the gameplay. There's so many little Nintendo Easter eggs dropped in there, like characters who shouldn't be there who are in there. Absolutely fantastic, yeah, loads. There's the Chain Chomp from Super Mario Bros. There's Kirby is in there somewhere for some reason. There's the guy on the island who literally is Mario, and he's called something very similar. But there's a few little Easter eggs in there. But Link's Awakening is an absolutely amazing game on the Game Boy.
There's famously a magical board you can use to contact Luigi. And you just go, Luigi, can you tell me where the sword is? And he goes, no, I don't know where it is.
Jesus Christ.
And that's all it does. It's the famous Ouija board.
Michael, I would like to turn this into a deep dive podcast on Link's Awakening.
Yes,
let's do it. That's what I want. I really want to now
Yeah.
figure out why there was crossed universes in this.
I can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why, Ben.
No, go on, tell me why.
Exactly why, Ben.
Go on.
Because, spoiler alert, okay? We're going to give, I don't know if you're going to play, either of you are going to play, but for your listeners, if anyone is going to play Link's Awakening, spoiler alert, I'm going to say how it ends.
Spoiler alert for a 32-year-old
But see,
game.
I take this very seriously. I don't want to spoil it, because I only played it for the first time about 2 years ago, and it fucking blew me away. So, I'm going to tell you how it ends. It's all a dream.
Oh, I knew it.
No.
It's all a dream. And it's a very dark game, right? And I'll tell you why. It's disturbingly dark. It's almost borderline a horror game, right? Because you wake up on an island, Continental Island, and you have to wake the windfish who's in a giant egg on top of a mountain. And to do so, you have to get several musical instruments. But when you wake up, you meet the people on the island, you become friends, and, you have your buddies, and you meet all these characters. If you wake up the fish, they disappear. They die, basically. And to end the game, you have to destroy the island. It's almost like Lost or something. But
what?
Yeah. How fucking dark is that, huh?
That's amazing.
I'm telling you, Ben.
Naoise, do you want to start a podcast where we do a deep dive on Link's Awakening?
Yes,
we'll call it Ben's Awakening. Naoise teaches Ben about games.
How to play Link's Awakening on the Megacast.
Yeah, we just dust off the old Megacast.
Oh, this is very upsetting.
I'm sorry, Mick.
That's very upsetting altogether. Waking the windfish is actually what Ben calls it when I have too much prune juice. And I get very farty. Naoise, here's the question though for you. Were you a gamer as a child who drifted away from it and came back, or were you always a gamer?
So I started playing, like, the NES is the first one I can remember playing. So I can remember playing Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt on our beautiful little CRT TV. And I played the NES, the SNES, and I went along with the times, I got the modern, whatever was coming out, the PS1, PS2, PS3, all that kind of crack. But I didn't stick with playing the older games, so I was always about current gen until about 10 years ago when I got a Super Nintendo and then just, spiraled into a deep, dark addiction of retro video games.
Very good. Very, very good. And I mean, one of the kind of side effects of, I don't know, I don't think we don't have the time or probably the energy to, like, do a critical analysis of why is retro popular? Because it's not just popular in video games; it's popular in. For the first time ever, I'm starting to see people collecting VHSs again. And play them on.
I'm one of those people.
Oh yeah, what are you doing?
Oh, and you know what I watched? Right, I watched last week. Ben, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this, Ben.
Okay, come on, tell me more.
I watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1993.
Nice.
Which you had a serious rant on recently.
Yes,
and I thought
did.
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great film, very sexy and creepy.
Yeah.
Very sexy, sleazy, and creepy. Very good stuff.
So
It's a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic.
I saw a fascinating thing about this, right? So Disney is kind of notorious for going back and erasing things that they don't really like in their new digital media. So if you're watching stuff on Disney Plus, you may be watching a re-edited or rejigged version of it. And one of the most recent ones to happen, and it's spotted by a guy who collects VHS and does comparisons. He's just deep into like analog, and he really likes to kind of keep that kind of stuff alive. And what happened was they went back to Darby O'Gill. They've redubbed Darby O'Gill completely because his original accent is too Irish.
What?
So if you watch Darby O'Gill on Disney Plus, you have Darby O'Gill, but it's not the original actor's voice.
No way.
It is a more American-friendly Irish lilt.
We've got to go and get those leprechauns.
Pretty much. So
You'll
it's
never
that.
trick me, king of the leprechauns.
And this guy was incensed.
Yeah.
He was like, no, that is not how Darby O'Gill sounds. And he gets out his Darby O'Gill VHS from back in the day and he sticks it in the... He shows it. It's mental.
Oh, I love it.
So is that one of the joys then of retro collecting, that you're actually collecting old physical media?
Well, I don't know if... that's interesting. One of the joys is collecting physical media. I'm a firm believer that it's going to be a thing of the past very soon. I think everything is going to be digital. I genuinely think it's... You see, unfortunately, shops closing down because they can't sell, be it CDs, movies, video games, everything, because everything is available at the click of a button online. And I genuinely feel like you're, not to sound too highfalutin, but you're preserving a bit of history by holding on to these games. Now, also, I just as a hobby, being a collector is my thing. You know, people collect stamps, they collect coins, whatever. I like collecting video games and VHS. I like collecting ones in the original box if possible. But I don't. Nostalgia is a big thing as well for me, though, as to why I collect them. So,
the kind of sense memory.
Yeah.
Kind of like picking something up and going, this is what I used to do, and this is something I never had a chance to do because video games were £60.
Well, there's games that I would have looked at, but obviously you might get like 1 or 2 games a year, and that's it. You're stuck with them, and you have to play them and enjoy them. But
Super Thunderblade.
What game did you got a game on the Mega Drive or the Megacast recently?
You said the right one. So we don't really talk about it very much here, but I am a fairly I'm not a big time collector, but I do collect. Collection. I do collect complete and box Sega Mega Drive games. The most recent one I've been playing was Shining in the Darkness.
And it's an expensive game.
That cost me about €80.
Yeah.
And I mean, it felt
out of town.
Yeah, it felt expensive, but it was a role-playing game on a relatively large cartridge, so that probably would have cost about £70-80 when it came out originally. So we're at like a peak time of expense in terms of collecting for 90s and early 2000s consoles. It's expensive to be a Mega Drive, Super Nintendo collector at the moment. It's super cheap to be a PlayStation 3 collector.
Yeah.
Or a GameCube collector. You could get the whole catalogue for £2 each, except the super rare stuff.
Yeah.
But even looking at Mega Drive games that are super expensive now, they're other than the ones which are mad prices, like €400 or €500, and that's for lunatics. That's just for people who have more money than sense. I'm happy enough to pay for a video game now what it would have cost in the olden days.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I draw the line.
Right.
I won't pay double. I won't pay triple.
Yeah.
But, if a game would have been £60 back in the olden days, I'll pay €80 for it now. Yeah. And I'll play it. That's the thing, though.
Yeah. But a game like that one that you played is a big RPG. Like, how many hours do you reckon?
I probably paid 40
Yeah,
euros.
so there you go. So that's absolutely worth 80 quid. Like, you wouldn't get that off you might get a PS5 game for 79.99. I don't know what they cost, but it could take you 10 hours to complete, and then it's gone.
Yeah, not far off 79.99.
Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
That's just the number that came to my head. I would assume it's about that. But you're paying that, and you're still getting a 40 hours of a game. And have you played this game before, or what was it that drew you into this game?
Funnily enough, I played it a couple of times. This was my 6th attempt to play.
Oh, really?
And the only time... Ben, stop us if this is getting too niche.
No, I'm into it.
But I never got into it. And do you want to know why I never got into it on this not a retro gaming podcast, which is now a retro gaming podcast? The reason I never got into it was I was still in too modern a mindset.
Right.
And this time when I was playing it, I sat down and went, okay, there's no internet.
Yeah.
I can't look up cheats. I can't look up maps. I'm going to sit down with my notepad and my pencil, and I'm going to map every step of the way. And it took it from being a slog and a chore to being one of the most evocative exploration experiences I've ever had in a piece of media.
Brilliant.
And it was so much fun fighting every step of the way with the only goal being map more of this dungeon.
Yeah.
And every time I tried to play it previously, I'd looked up a guide on the internet and it says, okay, the sword of light can be found over here in this corner. And you have to make your way to it. And then every battle and every distraction felt like a pain in the arse. Because it's like, I don't want random battles. I want to get to the sword of light. But not knowing where the sword of the light was and having to crawl your way through every step of this dungeon, making your own handmade maps, making mistakes, rubbing them out with a little rubber on the backside of the pencil. Oh, one of the most sublime 80 euros I've ever spent.
You see that how passionate you got there about talking about that game, Mick, and how happy and into it you are. That's why I love retro video games. That's what they do for me. And when I ask people about why do you like retro video games, and they get that passionate, like, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful thing to hear from me. Like, I genuinely love hearing people get that passionate about their video games. And I saw you drawing that map. And I was like,
You did, yeah.
I was like, that's so cool though. Like, that is so cool to do. And that's why I genuinely think those games make a lot of people feel that passionate about them.
I don't usually let so much of my real emotions out on this podcast. It's usually just about being mean to Ben. I feel very exposed.
I'm sorry. This is my influence. I apologise.
What games have made you feel like that then?
It made me feel like emotional.
What games? Yeah, what games have given you that kind of joy?
Pokemon. Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, then, which was like the updated version of Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah. And you had the little Pikachu following you around.
Yeah, so they basically took more of the TV show adaptations, because the game came out prior to the TV show. So then when obviously the TV show kind of took the world by storm, they decided to re-release the game again and have it as yellow. They originally released it as green and red in Japan, and then it came out as red and blue in every other region. And then they released yellow, which was the updated version. But that game... like, pure joy that game brings me. That, along with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the N64, which purely, a lot of it is nostalgia, but like, playing that game, and like, I still play that game today and absolutely adore when I'm playing it. Like, it's just, it's a beautiful game. It's a really good game. It's regarded as one of the greatest video games of all time, Ocarina of Time, and those two in particular, and one more, Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES. Those three,
like the wizard.
Those three games are just, they just hit me. You know what I mean? They get me, and I absolutely love playing them. And they're the ones that move me, so to speak. I know I'm getting very deep here, but this is what these games do to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You see, I probably have similar emotions like that to several Saturn games.
Oh yeah,
that's when I was like, Saturn was my peak of. I was a teenager. I didn't leave my room.
Yeah.
I played video games all the time. I was in video games, and there's probably any number of them that could just play. You play one or two bars of a piece of music from one of those games, and I'm just back straight away. I've just gone. oh wow, that's incredible. I only need to see a flash of it on a screen, and I go, oh, that was the time I was eating chili nachos and like trying to find the last fairies.
Yeah.
It's like it just brings those sense memories back straight away.
The Saturn's a console that has always intrigued me. I haven't played much of it or got into it very much, but it does intrigue me because I haven't played a lot of it. So yeah.
Naoise, you know where I live.
Yes, I do. You'll be sorry you told me.
Other listeners also might know where I live, but please don't show up unannounced.
Yeah, no, that's more of a book in advance kind of gig.
But Naoise's fine. Like, we know each other. It's great.
Thank you. Ben, what about you? I know you're not mad into video games, yeah? But you told us about I remember you telling me the last time I was on your podcast, which was about 4 years ago.
Maybe even five.
About 5 years ago.
Possibly 5.
You were you told me the story of how you got that SNES console and you had the Mortal Kombats and stuff like that. Was that kind of the end of your video game journey, or I know you played Sticks on the PS4, but
I still don't believe that, to be honest.
I've picked up random games over the years.
Yeah.
And I kind of go through bouts with them where it's just like it's a real like hyperfixation for a period of time, and then I kind of drop them again. You know, and it depends on which ones I pick up and which ones I give a go to. But like the Batman games were huge for me. The Batman but even before the Arkham games, I was obsessed with Batman the Animated Series, and they brought out a few of them for PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
There was Batman Vengeance was one of them.
Nice.
And you played as the Batman animated series Batman in a kind of a Joker-driven noir adventure. That was great crack.
Cool.
I really liked that. And then they came up with a really... I wouldn't say it was racist, but looking back, it's a problematic game. It was
sounds
Batman...
racist, Ben.
Go on.
Sounds like this is going to be racist.
No, it's going to be bad. It was Batman and the Rise of Sin Tzu. And Sin Tzu was a play on Sun Tzu, the Chinese warlord guy that wrote The Art of War. But he was Sin Tzu because he was evil, and you knew that because sin was in the name.
Yes.
But you would fight like loads of different villains, and you could play as all like 4 members of the Bat family. You could be Batman, Nightwing, Robin, or Batgirl.
Cool.
And each one had like different moves and different things you could do, and I really, really loved those. And then the Arkham games came out, and I was just hooked. I was like, this is absolutely... You feel like Batman in those games.
Yeah.
Like the combat system they built in, the way they brought the villains in as bosses, and you have to do different things. I just thought it was slick. I just thought it was absolutely class.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the retro stuff, it's... I used to play loads of superhero stuff. I was just mad for superhero games. So I had like different Spider-Man games for the Game Boy. Castlevania was one I was obsessed with. I got the Game Boy Advanced. And they brought out a bunch of Castlevania ports for that. And I remember really, really enjoying them. So I got a bunch of them. And then I played Wario Land 3 until I broke the buttons on a Game Boy Advance.
Serious,
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know what it was that drew me to Wario, of all people, but I loved that he was an evil Mario. I was like, this is cool. I don't know what this is. I don't get any of the stuff about it. And that probably triggered like a lifelong love of backstories and things for me.
Oh, cool.
Because I don't know if you listen to it much, but I love the lore of things. I love like digging into where stuff comes from and why it comes. Wario broke my little brain because I was like, who is Wario? Why is he an evil version of Mario? What is going on? It was bizarre, and
that's brilliant.
So it's triggered a lot of stuff.
Can I recommend a YouTube channel to you if you're into lore and the background? It's literally in his name is The Gaming Historian. I don't know if you've ever watched him.
I haven't.
But he explains like the background to like very niche items in gaming and characters, and say Sonic and Mario and this and that. But his videos, I absolutely love watching his videos because he gives you the background and very interesting stories and stuff. He does a lot of research, so I'll send you a link later on.
That's what I'm doing tonight. Yeah, that sounds great.
It's fantastic.
We have just discovered on the podcast today that Benjamin Colopy has a lot more retro gaming cred than he's been letting on. Breaking Game Boy Advances, playing Wario 3. You've been keeping that under wraps, Colopy.
It was very
keeping that under wraps. let's wrap it up then, Benjamin.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, what is your favourite game on the Sega Megacast? Get in touch with us in the podcast in a few different places and let us know. You can find us on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
It means tiny room in Irish.
It does indeed. You can find us on Instagram at Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast.
It means Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast, but this time in English.
It does. You can also find us on bloody TikTok. We're up on TikTok at Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast as well, so you can find us up there. But the best place to come and chat to us about all things retro gaming and other things is to get up on the Discord. Hop up on that Discord. It's down below.
Hop up on it like it's the 1970s and you're going to the Continental Hotel.
Yes, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, the number one thing that you should do after listening to this podcast and having a wonderful, warm, fuzzy feeling at all the retro gaming joy is go and check out Naoise O'Hare's podcast. Press any button to continue. It's linked below in the description.
Thank you very much for those kind words.
It's very important, very important. Naoise, thank you very much for coming onto our podcast and teaching me all about various retro gaming things.
Thanks for having me. It was I had a great time. It was a very interesting conversation, and I'm so impressed that you broke the buttons on a Game Boy Advance.
I know.
I'm
My father
away.
was not.
No, probably quite upset.
He was quite upset.
And thank
Young Benjamin Culper, you after breaking another one of those Game Boy Advances.
and the
cost me a
Megacast is never going to die. I'm sorry.
Oh
Mick.
no. Oh
Yeah.
no.
It's here to
Megacast.
stay.
Maybe that's what we can call our podcast, Naoise. Megacast.
Yeah.
We'll call it the
This could
Megacast.
It's a great name for a podcast, actually.
This it actually fucking is, isn't it? It's a great name.
Sega Mega
This could be the
Drive podcast.
worst. Yeah, oh no. This could be the worst thing that ever happened to me. You've said Sega Megacast to the one person who has the reach in the retro gaming community to make that happen.
I am going to
He
mention
could make
this
that happen,
on
Ben.
my podcast.
He could make that happen. People could call it the Sega Megacast. We could have a generation coming up. A generation of people Keith's age.
Yes.
Going, oh yeah, I'm playing that Sega Megacast all the time. I'm like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
they
get
don't
it out
even
there.
know it's a
Get
joke.
it out there. You know what you have to do, Naoise.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do.
Very upsetting. Naoise, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all next Tuesday.